right, so we're here posted, camping, if you will, on the floor here again, once again at the Lucasfilm booth. And the beauty of cons and D23, with the only con bigger than D23 being Comic-Con, is that there's really something for everyone here. Some people just go to the panels. Some people just want to watch people talk and get close with their favorite artists, or watch some previews of what's to come from their favorite studios. And then some people like doing the meet and greets, meeting the favorite artists, getting a print sign, getting a Pixar ball, getting something fun they can take home as a souvenir without having to spend any extra money, because as you guys know, cons can be very expensive with your hotel, with your airfare or gas, if you will, food, and then also, like, of course, all your souvenirs, all your take homes. And then in addition to that, some people just want to experience the activations also. Not necessarily needing to take something home, but all these big movie studios and companies like National Geographic, which is a Disney brand also, they have a great walk-through Hexadome experience where you can be, once again, fully immersed in nature, as opposed to the behind the scenes of the ILM Stagecraft, where you can see how some of your favorite shows and movies are being made. So, as I mentioned before, we're here on the floor, literally camping out for the next experience. And, you know, with I guess kind of the evolution of what a lot of these movie studios and brands have to offer, the hype grows and grows and grows, and attendees have to line up earlier and earlier and earlier. So the original old school way, just like camping out for a pair of shoes, is camping out for that experience. So there are things called the virtual queue that Disney offered, where it's like a lottery system. You jump into the virtual queue, and randomly you'll get selected for one of your top 4 choices of the day. Out of the 8 of us that attended, out of the 3 days that we were here, we got 1. And that was the Inside Out 2 making of last night, which was yesterday afternoon, which was amazing. And there was a virtual queue also for what we are camping out for right now, but once again, we didn't get it. But a standby line is always available, sometimes capped, sometimes available, and it's like a first come, first serve. You gotta pace back and forth till a spot opens up, and then plop down and then keep yourself busy for an hour. So that's what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna see how worth it is.
So right now it's day 3, morning time. We've had a chance for 2 showcases already. On Friday night we had a chance to see the, how you describe it, Disney Entertainment Showcase. So Marvel Studios.
It's all the previews of what's coming from all the major studios that are under the Disney umbrella. Disney Plus TV, Disney movies, Disney animation, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then Star Wars film, and also TV.
You know, so what's interesting about like most of the stuff that they covered was it's a lot of, I wouldn't say redundant intellectual property, but it's a lot of sequels, right? Incredibles 3, Moana 2, a remake, a live action remake of Lilo and Stitch. And I think that's the first comment that I've had with regards to all this stuff. I'm excited, don't get me wrong. They're successful franchises. However, there doesn't seem to be a lot of new.
I think that's a challenge with like companies like Pixar or Disney, where it's like they're looking for something to stick. Like I guarantee you that if let's say if like Soul or what's another one that really didn't really take off for like Pixar?
What's that brothers movie?
Like Luca, or the one where they drive, where they're in the van, right?
Yeah, they were in the van. They were like the blue.
I think that van's here.
See, it's
not as memorable, right?
Yes, exactly.
But if it took off, if everyone was receptive, if viewers were receptive over it, then they'd build off of that.
On the flip side, you have Inside Out 2 that broke records, right? Highest grossing animated film ever
in history.
In history, that's
in
what
history.
they were saying.
But then, and that goes to the point where it's like, wow, did they really know it was going to be this big? Because now they're doing the in-between quill, right? In between 1 and 2, they're going direct to Disney Plus.
So it makes you wonder whether or not, you know, new ideas, you know, are actually a viable sort of option to really make some money in this world. So there's like a balance of like creativity as opposed to doing, you know, a formulaic thing.
At the last D23 2 years ago, they put a lot of money into Wish, the movie Wish, and I actually still haven't seen it yet. And from what I've seen and I've heard, it kind of tanked. And but if it really took off, they'd build on those characters, and there'd be a Wish 2, and there'd be a Wish experience in the parks.
Exactly.
And that kind of leads us to the parks panel that we went to yesterday. It's like cool seeing that like Indiana Jones is going to get an immersive experience in Animal Kingdom, right, in Florida.
Yeah, Florida.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Inside Out 2 gets like gets put into the Inside Out ride that's in DCA right now.
I mean, it's just that's just the way that it's been working.
Yeah.
You can see it outside of even Disney with the whole Despicable Me franchise. I mean, you have Despicable Me 1 through 4, and then you have a series of 3 with the Minions. So it feels like once they find a good formula, they gotta stick with it.
I haven't been to it's Universal, right?
It's Universal.
I haven't been to Universal in like maybe even like 20 years. But do they have a lot of Despicable Me stuff at Universal?
I wouldn't say that there's a lot, actually. There's just like one ride, and you'll see like a Minion area. But I think they do a good job of kind of scattering it around.
You know,
maybe it's different right now when they have a film that recently came out, but at least when we went prior to the film, there could have been more. But there's just they have so much on their portfolio that it's really hard to incorporate everything, right?
And that's what's really interesting. It's like I think every like movie maker or animator has an intention and wish and hope that something's gonna be big, like Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
Harry Potter, they keep coming out with like more. Do they keep coming out more stuff?
They have the series
spin-offs, right?
1 through 7 or 8, like because they split out the 2 parts of 7, and then they have that Fantastic Beasts.
Right.
You know, whatever prequel or whatever trilogy or whatever.
Right.
So it's just.
I think it's every movie maker's dream to build a world, right? Like, and look at like Avatar. Avatar 1 came out, and then Avatar 2, and then now they're talking about Fire and Ash, right?
Yeah, Fire and Ash.
For number 3, and that's what we found out also at the entertainment panel on the first day. So I mean, and then you look at like Star Wars. When Star Wars came out back in the late 70s, it's like. Was George Lucas that brilliant where he knew that I heard he knew he was going to do prequels already at that time, but I don't think he knew that there was going to be like Mandalorian and Ahsoka and all these other spin-offs.
Exactly, right.
That batch.
Out of it. Exactly. And I mean, I guess that's just, you know, maybe it's just the luck of the draw. If you're really that genius that you can come up with something that can build upon itself and evolve over time, that's just a mark of a true genius.
You know what? A good analogy to that would be like when a band comes out with like a record and like what the hits are, right? And then like of course you'll have your listening parties. I think back to like the Temptations in like Motown with is it Berry Gordy and then Smokey Robinson. They're in the listening room and trying to figure out like what the hits are, and they look around and be like, oh, this one is gonna be like the hit, you know? And then you never know. Sometimes when you put it out, that ends up not being the top hit on the album. It ends up being like the B-side, right?
Exactly.
That ends up being the hit. So it's the same thing, kind of like when you come out with like with like spin-offs, right? Is this going to be a hit or not? You know, you're always going to piss someone off. Like especially if you have if you have a franchise as big as Star Wars and the diehards that are all into the OGs, you can't make everyone happy.
And you know, with all of those franchises, you have that experience here at D23. There's just thousands of people. I don't even know how many people you think have come through the convention center over this past weekend.
You know, just last night at the Honda Center, it's 12,000. 12,000 people to sit down in that panel, and that was a new expansion because before they could only fit less than half of that in one of the ballrooms over here, and then that's one where you have to camp out overnight.
So how would you describe the Honda Center experience to everything that you've experienced before in terms of conning, in terms of the whole wrap up, or is that unique to Disney?
The Honda Center, well, because the biggest panel room they have at Comic-Con is Hall H, and that holds 6,000 or 6,600 people. And then the culture of that is camping on the sidewalk overnight for 24 hours, taking shifts with friends so that you can experience the floor at the same time, or shower, or go to the bathroom, or eat. I mean, I've done that for a couple of years back to back, and I've experienced some lifelong memories in doing so, and don't regret a thing, you know. But compared to something like the Honda Center, where you have to pay to play. I mean, this is as transparent as it gets. For our families of 4 each, it was over $3,000 a family.
Exactly.
And I'm glad.
It's not a drop in the bucket.
No, it's 3 racks. And I'm glad we shelled out the money for not only that to get in, but we got great seats.
You did, yeah.
We got the lowest, because it's a different experience being that close to the action. And but that $3,000 included the 3 days of the show also, which I think on its own was maybe like $300 or something like that, right?
Yeah. The standby line.
But the cool thing about having in the Honda Center, it's like if you have like a musical or something like that, or a play, you set a stage and you have it for a couple days in a row, so you have more room to build on the pyrotechnics and like the stage set with that big, you know, floor to ceiling. It's got to be like 50.
Production. It's definitely more of a production.
How big is that screen, you think, on the back? Hundreds of feet tall?
Hundreds of feet. 200
hundreds,
feet,
right?
300 feet, maybe.
Because it's floor to all the way to the uppers,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Hundreds of feet, right?
They spent a lot of money on that production, for sure.
And, you know, and the cool thing about the Stagecraft experience that we did earlier is that they spent millions on the Stagecraft experience, and they brought that for us to experience ourselves. I mean, they literally have the guy in the back as the tech that did the
actually was doing during the filming,
or Obi-Wan, or Ahsoka and Mandalorian, you know,
big production. So that's crazy. It's one of the beauties of the experiences that you can have with something here like D23. So
it's getting as close to the action as possible.
So overall, how would you rate this experience thus far? I know I had a little bit of a rough morning. I was taking a couple of L's, not really in the best of moods, until I sat down here and kind of processed everything. But overall, if you take a step back, how would you assess the experience thus far?
I think it's wins left and right. I think everything was great. The thing about succeeding at these cons is like you're bound to catch an L. You can't just get W's all the time, and you just gotta bounce back from it and can't let it ruin like your morning or your day.
I'm learning that the hard way.
Because there's always stuff to do. It's virtually impossible to do everything. There's some booths that I didn't even find here because it's so big, and we do other things, but we prioritize, right? So we prioritize other things, and there's some things that I just won't be able to see this time around. So I'll experience it on YouTube, or I'll have to buy it on eBay.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of that, I mean, some people just come here just to resell stuff, and no shade on that at all. That's some people's like their
hustle. That's their hustle.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like that for people that can't come out to the show and buy that Loungefly backpack or those Lorcana cards. That's the only way they can get it on the aftermarket.
So, out of your conning experiences, out of 10, how would you kind of rate thus far? And it's not even over. We still have the biggest part tonight. So this is in many ways preliminary. We can revisit it after, but thus far, to this point, as we wait on cue.
It's so different conning with family and kids. Fortunately, we have spouses that can snag the kids and do their own thing. But overall, as an experience, it's really high. It's got to be at like an 8 to 9. You know what I mean? And then, if what I wish for tonight comes true, I mean, there's no reason why it wouldn't be like a 10. But I guess we'll find that out. But it's so different with kids because it's like before when you're with your spouse or your significant other or rolling solo, you cover ground a lot faster. Yeah. And you don't have someone complaining to you.
Yeah. That's the handicap that we've been dealt. We're doing the best with what we have. But then, Thank you to the spouses for letting us.
Kids are so easily amused, you know? Yeah. You were able to play the crane game with the kids, or your wife was. Yeah. And then they're stoked for the day. Yeah. Two plushies for the day. W for them.
That's a
W for them. If I left D23 with 2 plushies, that
That's
might
a
be an
dub.
L. That might for me.
No, for the kids, for you? Oh, yeah.
For me,
Heck
I'd be
no,
like
man.
a little bit more. I'd want a little bit more. But so far, with the stuff I brought home, and then the experience I've had so far, even if I left without having this legend ceremony tonight, it would still be like an 8 or a 9.
So we'll see what the legend ceremony brings. We're noticing a little bit of action right now on the queue, so we're gonna wrap this up. Just making use of the time here, downtime. So hopefully everybody gets a good vibe on how the con experience is. It's pretty much doing this, man. Just hanging out. You know, people walking back and forth on the background. That's conning.
All right. Check you soon.